This week, consumer reporter Randy Ripplinger is delving into the depths of your crankcase, tweaking your carburetor, and trying to keep your budget aligned. Part 2 of his series shows how you might try to avoid cars that already have troubles, and the operative word here is to try, and I'm getting the feeling that's probably easier said than done, huh?
That's right. First, you don't succeed, you can always just buy a new car. Sometimes that won't solve the problem, but you would think that they wouldn't have any mechanical problems, right? Wrong. And when one thinks of new car lemons, one certainly thinks of Dieselgate.
The car doesn't work properly, and we've had 4 engines and 3 transmissions, and the 3rd transmission is now out on the car, and that's why it's going to have to be towed.
Diane Halferty was the leader of a band of General Motors customers who sued the car manufacturer for making lemons out of diesel engines. During the 6 years of failing motors and transmissions, some owners threatened to dump their cars, others made faces at the car maker, and the Halferty's group finally won $500,000 from GM. Since then, Oregon has enacted the Lemon Law. The Lemon Law will protect us from another Dieselgate, right? Wrong again.
People thought it was a cure-all. If they had a lemon, then they could say, hey, I've got a lemon, I fit into the lemon law, you've got to give me my money back or a new car. It doesn't work quite that way. You have to go through a certain process, you have to go through certain hoops, and you do have to get an attorney, and you end up in court.
While the legislation certainly didn't outlaw lemons, Gary and Suzanne Domnesey still think their new car is a moving violation. They bought this '85 GMC Wagoneer from an auto dealer last fall for about $20,000. They drove it 400 miles and then it quit.
I'm just frustrated, very frustrated and angry.
The dealer tried to repair some serious engine problems, but it was only the beginning of the trouble. More repairs to the engine, carburetor, doors, windows, electronics, totaling weeks in the shop.
Granted, it hasn't cost me any money. It's cost me a lot of time, but who knows, after 12,000 miles 1 year, when this thing isn't under warranty anymore, then where am I going to be? The only way I could be satisfied is to be reimbursed. I don't want another car like this one. I don't want a new engine. I don't want a replacement car.
So the Domnesey's case is pending in Better Business Bureau arbitration. Many auto dealers have signed agreements to let the BBB arbitrate disputes with consumers. The settlements are legally binding.
This is a binding arbitration, and once the decision is rendered, you've agreed to abide by the decision that is given.
In a real arbitration, both sides tell their stories to the hearings officer, and he renders a decision. But the BBB says 95% of the cases are settled before they reach a hearings officer. In many of them, the consumers get money, free repairs, or even a new car.
You avoid some of the legal expenses. It's faster. We try to get everything through our system at the top end in 60 days and at the bottom end in 40.
But it seems neither arbitration nor the Lemon Law will help people like Larry and Joyce O'Shea. They bought this Datsun from a used car dealership, then tried to drive it home.
Well, we got down by Union and Grand, and it died at the light.
The engine quit, and it wouldn't restart. Larry towed it back to the dealer.
Then the boss got there. Then I said, well, is there anything we can do about the car? And he says, yeah, get the hell off my lot.
If they buy a car at any one of my locations, no. You know, I want to sell them completely as is. I don't really want to see the customer again unless they're there to sell another car, to be frank.
Gage's mechanic says the car worked well until it left the lot, but it came back with the spark plugs damaged. He thinks the new owner dropped something down into the engine. The O'Sheas say they never touched it. Now they're paying a few $100s more to rebuild the engine. The whole thing could have been sidestepped with a quick stop at the motor vehicle department. For a nominal fee and a vehicle ID number, they can look up the current title for you, and then you can call the previous owner.
I'd have been more than happy to tell you everything that we'd put into it and what was wrong with it when we got rid of it, and just how bad it was. The reason we got rid of it is just simply because it was smoking so bad that we couldn't see putting any money into it.
Stubblefield traded the car in at this Chevy dealer. That dealer wholesaled it to another dealer. Both of them say they did nothing to the car before it reached Greg Gage Auto Sales.
We were unaware of the problem.
I mean, you would have noticed smoke.
We would have noticed it too. The customer would have noticed it also when he purchased it if it was that bad. You know, we didn't doctor it up, no.
And what about the O'Shea's story that the salesman, Jack, had told them the car was traded in by a friend whose family had just outgrown the car?
You know, if Jack said that, then he lied, but, you know, I'm sure that he wouldn't say that. You know, he's been in this business too long to be telling stories to sell cars. You don't have to tell stories to sell cars. We don't tell stories. We don't tell our people to sell stories to sell cars. You don't have to, you know, so we don't do it.
So now what? Good question. The O'Sheas did sign an as-is statement when they bought the car.
If you have many people go in there and they sign this contract and they sign their as-is clause and they sign away any sort of cooling off period, they're stuck with it, unless there were some very specific misrepresentations.
So find the previous owner and ask him what shape the car is in. And starting next week, May 9th, all used car dealers must post this sticker on the vehicles they sell. It puts in writing all promises. If there is nothing in writing, then there really aren't any promises, so don't trust it. You should also take such a car to a mechanic you know and pay him to do a complete diagnosis, which costs usually around $50. It's insurance well worth it. Of course, you need to know how to find a good mechanic, and tomorrow we'll give you some clues on how to do that too.
Okay, so you're saying no one should sign the as-is part of the contract until they have the car looked at by an independent mechanic,
That's
right?
a good idea.
Okay.
Then you know what you're buying.
Great. Thanks, Randy.